আজ থেকে প্রতিটি শ্রেয়, শুভ ও কল্যাণকর কর্মে সকলেই গণমুখী, জনগণ কেন্দ্রিক বিচার বিভাগকে আপনাদের পাশে পাবেন। People being recognized as the legitimate source of the state's powers. বৈষম্য বিরোধী ছাত্র আন্দোলন ও এর ফলে সংগঠিত গণ অভ্যুত্থানের কারণের বিষয়ে আমরা সকলেই অবগত আছেন। এই মুহূর্তে আমরা এক ধ্বংসস্তূপের উপর দাঁড়িয়ে আছি। বিগত বছরগুলোতে বিচার প্রক্রিয়ায় আমাদের বিচারবোধ ও ন্যায় বিচারের মূল্যবোধকে বিনষ্ট ও বিকৃত করা হয়েছে। সততার বদলে সততা, অধিকারের বদলে বঞ্চনা, বিচারের বদলে নিপীড়ন, আশ্রয়ের বদলে নির্যাতনকে স্বাভাবিক ব্যাপারে পরিণত করা হয়েছে। অথচ এরকম সমাজ ও রাষ্ট্র আমরা চাইনি। এই ধ্বংসস্তূপে দাঁড়িয়েই আমাদেরকে নতুন করে যাত্রা শুরু করতে হবে। আমি উপরে যে মূল্যবোধের বিনাশ, বিকৃতি ও দূষণের কথা উল্লেখ করেছি, সেগুলো আমাদের আবার পুনঃপ্রতিষ্ঠা করতে হবে। এই চ্যালেঞ্জ অনেক বড়। আজ থেকে প্রতিটি শ্রেয়, শুভ ও কল্যাণকর কর্মে সকলেই গণমুখী, জনগণ কেন্দ্রিক বিচার বিভাগকে আপনাদের পাশে পাবেন। আমরা সকলেই অবগত আছি যে দেশের এই ক্রান্তি লগ্নের ভগ্নদশা থেকে বিচার বিভাগও মুক্ত নয়। তবে এই পর্যায়ে আমি দ্ব্যর্থহীন কণ্ঠে আপনাদেরকে আশ্বস্ত করতে চাইছি যে এই পরিস্থিতি থেকে উত্তরণ কল্পে বিচার বিভাগ কিন্তু কিছু প্রাতিষ্ঠানিক সংস্কারের বলিষ্ঠ পদক্ষেপ নিয়ে ইতিমধ্যে এক নতুন যাত্রা শুরু করেছে। ছাত্র জনতার বিজয়ের এই ঐতিহাসিক মুহূর্ত নির্যাতিত ও নিপীড়িত মানুষের পাশে দাঁড়ানোর এক সুবর্ণ সুযোগ আমাদের সামনে এনে দিয়েছে। আমরা যেন এই সুযোগের পূর্ণ সদ্ব্যবহার করতে পারি, সেদিকে আমাদেরকে সর্বদা খেয়াল রাখতে হবে। It is a truism that a state should try so far as possible to govern through a coherent set of principles whose benefit it extends to all citizens. The judiciary's role as an organ of the state is to declare the true and legal content of such principles. That, in my opinion, is the essence of rule of law and hence constitutionalism. In my opinion, the primacy given to popular will lies latent in the very genesis of the Constitution as a social contract aiming for the establishment of a democratic society free from exploitation through limited government. The narrative that gains momentum here is of the relationship between the sovereign state and the sovereign people. In the context of the latter, the people being recognized as the legitimate source of the state's powers. In that sense, a constitution as a compact is basically a license to limited government. In that regard, the citizenry, organized in a civil political society, retains the power as final arbiter of the quality of governance and of resultantly ushering change in the instrument and mode of governance, and of resultantly ushering change in the instrument and mode of the said governance. Distinguished participants, the theme of today's conference, people-centric governance and accountability, speaks to the essence of democracy. Governance derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. However, in recent years, authoritarian governance has undermined this principle in many contexts, silencing voices, curbing freedoms, and marginalizing citizen platforms. Such governance erodes the trust between state and society. making it impossible to achieve meaningful development or ensure that no one is left behind. The Sustainable Development Goals are at the core about human dignity, inclusion, and empowerment. Targets as Goal 16, promoting peace, justice, and strong institutions are fundamental to the achievement of all other goals. Without accountability, transparency, and inclusive decision-making, the transformative promise of the SDGs risks being reduced to mere rhetoric. Ladies and gentlemen, today, Bangladesh faces critical questions about its governance structure. How do we strengthen institutional autonomy and ensure judicial independence? How do we empower citizens, especially those at the grassroots, to participate meaningfully in governance? How do we balance the urgency of reform with the need to maintain stability? One key aspect of this conversation is institutional accountability and our transition in the larger scheme of affairs from a mere formal to a truly substantive democracy. This requires institutions that are transparent, responsive, and free from undue political influence. It also demands a judiciary that upholds the rule of law and safeguards fundamental rights, providing a bulwark against authoritarian tendencies. The present interim government has highlighted its commitment to comprehensive reform across all major sectors, including the judiciary. These reforms are an opportunity to reimagine governance in a way that centers the needs and aspirations of ordinary citizens like you and I. Judicial reform, for instance, must not only focus on efficiency, but also on accessibility, ensuring that justice reaches even the most marginalized segments of the society. It is here that judges, like myself, are expected to assume extended and expanded roles as court administrators. Administrators of the justice delivery mechanism, taking on the roles at once of reformists, managers, innovators, and educators. The challenge of institutional effectiveness is particularly acute, with many citizens perceiving governance structures as disconnected from their realities. The Citizens Platform for SDGs, or SDG Bastobayane Nagorik Platform Bangladesh, has taken a commendable initiative to create a space for dialogue on these critical issues. Dialogue is essential, not only for identifying solutions, but also for rebuilding trust between you and ourselves. A trust that has been eroded by years of authoritarian tendencies and exclusionary practices. Distinguished participants, the one area that exemplifies the need for citizen-centric governance is access to justice. While the functionality of institutions like village courts or Gramin Adalat has shown promise in resolving disputes locally and affordably, they are not immune to the broader challenges of accountability and autonomy. Community-based justice systems must be strengthened, not only as a means of reducing the burden on formal courts, but as a platform for empowering citizens at the grassroots level. At the same time, legal aid services, or Ain Shahata Sheba, play a critical role in ensuring that justice is not a privilege reserved for the few, but a right accessible to all. In Bangladesh, the legal aid services has been instrumental in providing support to those who are disadvantaged, marginalized, or otherwise unable to access formal legal mechanisms under very, very difficult and dire circumstances. These services are more than just a safety net. They embody the commitment of the state to uphold the principles of equity and fairness. The district legal aid offices in particularly have emerged as transformative hubs for alternative dispute resolution at the peripheral level. By offering mediation and conciliation services alongside formal legal aid, these offices have become essential in resolving disputes quickly, affordably, and amicably. This approach not only alleviates the burden on overburdened courts, but also fosters a culture of dialogue and understanding within communities. Through their innovative use of ADR methods, district legal aid offices exemplify how justice can be made more people-centric, addressing the needs of individuals at the grassroots level while promoting social harmony. Such initiatives are a testament to the potential of legal aid to be both transformative and empowering, creating pathways for a more inclusive and accessible justice system. I believe that a people-centered judiciary is one that not only adjudicates, but also empowers. It educates citizens about their rights, provides them with accessible services, and builds trust through transparency and fairness. All this stems from the belief that at the end of the day, the judiciary, an unelected organ of the state, nevertheless stands accountable to its constituents, that is, the public at large. That philosophy, once translated into action, can see to the reinvention and reorientation of any sluggish, top-down system to a service-centric one committed to provide quality adjudication, comprehensive services, and expanded diversionary alternatives to adversarial trial. The result is a reinvented governance regime driven by the motto that people in plight and distress deserve and expect an expeditious and effective disposal of governance. In closing, let us again reflect on the legacy of 1971 and the sacrifices of 2024 as call us to action, compelling us to reimagine governance as a platform for human dignity and empowerment. These sacrifices remind us that our commitment to democracy, justice, and accountability is not a matter of choice. It is an obligation imprinted into the very fabric of our nation's identity and our collective psyche.
সংবাদ ফিচার ও অনুষ্ঠানের জন্য ভিজিট করুন সংবাদ প্রকাশের ওয়েবসাইট এবং যুক্ত থাকুন ফেসবুক পেজ ও ইউটিউব চ্যানেলের সঙ্গে।